Hits and Crits. This video is brought to you by Trading Goblin.
What's up, Hits and Crits family? This is Chris and Randall from Imperial Minis again. We will take a look at the Stark faction today, which is really exciting because I think the developers took quite some time to take a look at them, and I was really excited about them because like the Starks were I think the third faction I was really interested about after like I got to know the Night's Watch. I was like looking to the Baratheons and I was looking to the Starks because I like them in the books, I like them in the show, but I also like this like a few houses like the Mormonts, the the Umbers, the Karstarks, and everyone is there, right? So I really like the idea of playing them, and they were in a let's not say tough spot. I mean, they were always playable, but I heard a lot of people referring to it like, yeah, for fun I play them. For fun, I play the Starks, right? But not for competitive play. But I think that totally changed, and we will take a look today. All right, Randall. Should we take a look at attachments first? So we will just mention it because it's out there. The Overrun tactics card from Great John got changed. Or was it the tactics card? No, it's the order. Yeah, it's the order. So it got universally changed. You can march after that. I think we can just mention it. I think it did not change how often you will pick Great John or how you will play him. I think if you played him before, which a lot of Stark players did, they will still continue to do so. It's just more versatile. It does not change the way how he plays out. So let's quickly jump to Mage Mormont, because I think there is more to say about Mage. So Mage got the battle scars changed. That does not seem like a lot, but it opens up the possibility for cool list, especially when we take a look later on the units. So what I was thinking about was the perfect match for her, together with her tactics cards, are the Umber Berserkers now. Because the Umber Berserkers, and we will take a look later, but let's just leave it at that. On that one last rank they have, they are really, really powerful because they're hitting with 9 dice and they have a 3/3 defense profile. So, and now it comes with the new battle scars. You can have the rerolls. You can have vicious, right? You can have all the bad stuff right away, and on last rank you get all three of them. And together with Mage Mormont's tactics card, Last Stand, what will happen is when that unit dies, it comes back and it will hit you with full force, right? And there are ways in the Stark deck to make that really hurt you. And then and last sentence on it, if you take Sansa to it to recycle Last Stand, that's pretty powerful.
Here we
stand. We stand. Sorry, not Last Stand. Here we stand. Yeah. So that's a really powerful list you can put in now through the change with battle scars. What do you think, Randall?
She went from one of the, I guess, least chosen commanders because of her, I mean, for other reasons, but her commander attachment was pretty blah. Now there's just a lot of different combos you can think of with her. I think like you mentioned, the Berserkers is an obvious one. It synergizes perfectly with the new battle scars and with her tactics cards. So I know the Rotterdam White Scars did a battle report recently with Mage in Berserkers, and Here We Stand kept them alive a lot longer than they should have been otherwise. So it's definitely a powerful potential combo there.
Yeah, maybe great axes too, right? Each and every unit which becomes really strong, which Starks have a quite good roster on having units that are being really potent on the last rank, so that she can work with every, but as you said, like the obvious thing is maybe like the Berserkers, maybe the Great Axes.
Great Axes are also another good pick. We'll talk about those later.
Yeah. Yeah, and even if you the other command card from her is the support of Bear Island is also really good, because you can, as you said, you can give some sustain to your Stark units, what you normally can't do, right? Normally the Stark deck does not offer any kind of like big heal. So support of Bear Island makes it even harder to kill this unit. And when you finally do, then there's the Here We Stand. So I think she got from as you said, from F to B commander now. Really try it out. Now it's a valid choice for competitive Stark play.
Yeah, she's a much more scrappy commander now to really be difficult to take down and get really ferocious when she's low on ranks.
True. All right, so let's cover the units. The first one will be the Loyalists. The Loyalist, I will just with a thematic standpoint here. I was just looking at them. It does not thematically fit the Karstarks when you look at the pose, right? This is like looks like honorable knights somehow, and they do vicious, they do panic, they do right. It's like a when you just compare the rules to the picture, or how you imagine the Karstarks in general, or even if you take a look at the other Karstark units, it does not really fit thematically for me. What do you think, Randall?
I'm more just happy that they got some abilities that made sense together. You know, before they had precision, which is, you know, like the most unreliable keyword, along with crit blow, and then perseverance and valor. So they restored 1 wound when they were attacking, which is not really that big of a deal, especially for Starks, who are kind of taking lots of hits.
Yeah.
But now they actually have abilities that do something together. So, you know, they have vicious all the time. When they're charging something, they make them panicked, which helps the vicious to push panic wounds through. And then now they have a low rank ability, where before they didn't have like the Stark low rank ability. Now they have the low rank ability to be able to throw tokens out. So I think they're a much more kind of coherent package now, even if kind of lore wise it may not make as much sense, but I think gameplay wise they sound and look like a much more fun unit that you can kind of build some kind of strategy around, I think.
Yeah, I played them yesterday, and I put Bran and Hodor into them just to have this vicious panic test always. Yeah, it was quite good. I mean, it really worked quite well. I think there might be other attachments really worth taking a look, but that worked pretty well for me. Is there any other attachment you can think of for the Karstark Loyalists?
Let's see.
I mean, you can also
really. I mean,
you can always do hardened, right?
Ones.
You can
hardened, the Sworn Sword Captain, give him rerolls.
Sworn Sword Captain,
vulnerable.
Yeah,
nothing super tailor made to them that I can think of. I do like their new abilities though.
Exactly. I think that's the take on them. You might not, because of all the changes, you might not need an attachment in them anymore, because they're now 5 points and they bring this package. I think they work on their own quite well. So at least the only thing I said is like when you want to like buy into the wolves, right? You need to do it, right? But I think so. Yeah,
and
so
they're
great,
cool models, and
now.
it's good to see cool models actually hitting the table.
Oh yes. The only guy I do not really like is the Bannerman. He looks kind of strange, right? I mean,
I'm not picturing him right now. I'll take
You're not picturing him. We'll put him in the video so you can
put
see.
A picture up here.
I just, just from my point of view, just mine, I do not really like the Bannerman, but I really like all the other sculpts. So yeah, fine with that. So let's jump to the Spearman. The Spearman, for me, the one of the, next to the Berserkers, the most interesting one. I also think that this 5-point unit now with 5 points is way more usable now. So that sounds strange, because a lot of players will just say, okay, it's just 1 point though. but it opens up certain lists. It opens up, for one, it opens up a spearman spam. Like just push those units with the four defense is quite okay. And when they hit, they won't do as much damage right away, but they will definitely through hold the line, and you will be at, or you will push your opponent to a point where he needs to retreat or has to deal with you, and that makes you or that makes him being like stuck with those units, and you can do the rest from afar through hidden traps or bowmen or do your way around it with whatever ravagers, the wolves, right? So I think this unit now on 5 points opens up great list building potential for Starks.
Yeah, no, I agree. I always thought they're a unit that on their own didn't really impress me too much, and needed a little help from an attachment or a commander or something. And them going to 5, to me, I just look at that as like a 1 point attachment allowance. So, I just think about what kind of attachments I'd put in them. You mentioned hidden traps. I would definitely like seeing what mirror read does in them, because an enemy unit doesn't want to be engaged with them because of hold the line. But then if you put hidden traps in them, now you're going to be really just annoying your enemy with auto hits if they don't engage you. So you're kind of giving your enemy a choice. So they can either take auto hits by not engaging you, or they can get engaged with you and take auto hits. So I like mirror read because it kind of forces your opponent to make a difficult decision whether to actually engage with you or not. So I like that combo.
True. Yeah, let's go to Bruisers. Bruisers got the Disrupt added and Counter-Strike removed. So in general, I think that unit was highly in need of being more defensive.
Yeah.
So I generally, or I like the change. I definitely like the change that they got the Disrupt. I mean, if they had both, it would be maybe too strong for the 6 points. But I really like, because like in a vacuum, again, this unit is better off with Disrupt than with Counter-Strike. And if you're really eager to do it, you can always pull Recon in there to get the Counter-Strike. But in general, I think this is a good change for the 6 point unit and puts them in a spot where they should be in terms of 6 points and in what role they play in the faction. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think Disrupt is more universally useful ability than Counter-Strike. Counter-Strike, unless the unit is kind of built to kind of feed that Counter-Strike with Disrupt or with weakened tokens or something, then Counter-Strike on its own, you're just kind of hoping for the best when it comes to enemies' failed attack rolls. At 6 points, they're okay. It's just, you look at the Disrupt and you think, oh, well, I want to put, my immediate thought is like, oh, let's put Rickon in there, and then we'll put Asha in there so they get Counter-Strike back, and Rickon gives them more morale, and they get Stubborn Tenacity. So they can, I mean, with that package, they can be a little bit of an annoying unit. They have Disrupt and Stubborn Tenacity, and then that enables you to take Shaggy Dog. But then they're a 7 point unit, and that's a lot of points. So I think it could potentially be good. It's just kind of remains to be seen, I guess. But it's definitely one way to get Shaggy Dog in your list if that's what you're going for. If you're going for the Dire Wolf, Dire Wolf list.
That's true. I think the only time I played them really for I don't know 1 to 2 games was with Brinton Tully. Brinton Tully gives them Stalwart and Stand Your Ground, so they will definitely hold the first charge. And together with the Disrupt now and Stalwart, they are quite defensive. I mean, they won't hold long, but they will definitely hold the first charge. They will definitely hold like 1 or 2 more punches. Together with the tech pieces you have in the tactics deck, and with Catelyn and stuff like that, you can make them work. That's the instant attachment I thought about when yeah, when thinking about the new disrupt and their change, together with Britton Tully, they also get set for charge, which is also good for this unit, because when they hit first with their attack potential, and then they just get a disrupted attack, that unit should be fine, right? And that can probably, like a little bit like the Martells, catch your opponent off guard, maybe a little bit. So that's the thing I could think of. But yeah, in general, great change for them. It puts it more on the table for a Stark player to choose.
Yeah.
In general, I think the range of 5-point units, especially, but also the 5 to 6 point units within the Stark roster is probably is unrivaled. And it's unrivaled across any faction, I would say. So and that unit is no exception.
And it is worth noting that unlike most Stark 6-point units, these guys hit on a 3+ versus a 4+. So you're gonna probably want to be using them offensively.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, they are remarkable in that respect.
Yeah. All right, let's go to the let's bring the elephant into the room, the Berserkers. The Berserkers, they had quite some visibility right after the patch. Everyone was like looking at what's happening, right? And everyone was focusing on this. They're getting down the ranks. They basically land on the 9 dice then on the last rank, and they also have this 3/3, as I mentioned before, this 3 defense, 3 armor attack profile. Just to get that out of the way, I think it's not broken. It's not OP, because there are ways around it. Because to have this ultra berserk power, you have to have 4 or less wounds. So if you get caught somewhere in the flank or something, that thing will be over quickly. So I think the unit is in a great state. Obviously, it's a good unit. It's a great unit. And the only thing, and Brad was mentioning that too, in the He-Cats video, the only thing I was also was wondering about was that this ability is innate. That's huge. Really the only thing. That's huge, and that was the only thing I was wondering about. Why is that exactly? Yeah, that's the only question mark I had on that change.
Yeah, so nothing can shut these guys off. They kind of live up to their name. They are berserkers. So once they get like fired
that might
up,
be the reason.
Literally nothing that can stop them other than just killing them. And like you said, I don't think they're broken, because once they are supercharged, they are only on 4 wounds. You can stick a Mormont veteran in there to give them hardened. So when they're at 1 rank, they're going to be really tough to take down. But then that is a 7-point unit now, and but yeah, I think they have kind of opened up the Stark meta a little bit with some options. They aren't like climbing the stats ELO ranking. If you're gonna look at stats as any kind of indication of the meta, they're not like ascending the way that Tully Cavaliers had previously, but they do look like a super fun unit that has a lot of combo potential and benefits greatly from the Stark tactics deck and NCU options. So I think all these units, you have to always think about the Stark deck and what the Stark deck can enable units to do, and what the Stark NCUs can enable units to do. Because at face value, a lot of these units are kind of so, but then when you consider what the Stark deck can do for them, it really turns them up quite a lot in power level.
Yeah, as you said, in the tactics deck, there is Sundering in there, there's Vicious in there, obviously there's Assault Orders in there. So you can do so much things with those units. But that includes the Bruisers and the Loyalists too, right? I mean, all the units we talked about. So in general, this change really feeds into the tactics deck and what Starks are like trying to do. So I really like the change. What I saw quite often in our community, in the Hits and Crits like community, like digitally, but also like around in Germany, is like beginners tend to do to put the Umber champion into the old ones, into the old Umber Berserkers, because it was like it was just a thing, right? It's an Umber champion.
Yeah, it's Umber and Umber, they have to go together.
It should work somehow, but actually, and when you think about it as a beginner, you think about the 9 dice, but when you think about more like more intensively, they were on a 4 before, right? So actually the better option for me, at least, was always the Sworn Sword Captain, because of martial training, right? Give them rerolls was in the end way more potent than having the 9 dice on a 4. So so that's the thing. And now it changed. Now I really see the Umber champion, because it gives vicious, it gives the highest attack die value right away, right from the start. So that is now an like a really good attachment to where he should be. Right now he's where he should be in his Umber Berserkers, and he really does a thing. Yeah, I think that's it on the Berserkers. Let's go to the big brothers, the Umber Great Axes, for 7 points. So basically they added the Ferocious Assault. They changed the Executioner's Fury and removed Unyielding completely, but also put them down an attack die. This unit was the general perception of most players I talk with, was this unit is too expensive. The old version was too expensive. Even though it had Sundering, right? Even though it had Unyielding, it was just too expensive compared to other stuff. So there's just that 1 point more, you're in this Tully Calf thing again. So that was the general perception. I think now, still on 7 points, now you have a great tech piece against high armor. And I think that's needed. I think with the Baratheon changes we talked about with the current meta in general, you have like a lot of Stark lists are strong with the Tully Calf. You have the Baratheons out there, which basically moving up the ranks now. I think it's good to have this tech piece in at least in a two list format. You should bring Umber Great Axes, I think, to have a possibility to deal with something bad. And yeah, so I like it at 7 points.
Yeah, I agree. I 7 points is still a really hard pill to swallow. You know, it's a point level where you're really building your list around a unit if you're bringing a 7 point unit. But like you said, with the kind of increasing prevalence of Baratheon lists right now, since the Baratheons got such nice buffs, it wouldn't be a terrible idea to bring this unit in one list of a 2 list tournament, because really what they had before Sundering and additional -1 for each of their destroyed ranks beforehand, they were already taking everything down to realistically a 4+ or a 5+. So, you know, them now specializing and causing units to always have to roll a 6 is really kind of targeting the 3+, those 3+ armor, that 3+ armor level of opponent, which is going to be like your Baratheons or your kind of your Lannister heavily armed front line. So it is nice. They also kind of got some other stuff. You know, they are now kind of a little bit more of a vicious panic focus. So that synergizes a little bit now with the new Karstark loyalists. And then they do have some built-in self-defense now with the weaken token that they can hand out. Once they're down to that last rank, they can just weaken their opponent so that they potentially won't get completely killed on the return hit. And you know, you can further throw a Mormont veteran in there to keep them alive some more. There's other attachment options, but you have to remember they're a 7 point unit, so you know, that's going to be an expensive investment. But do you want to kind of roll back to the Mage Mormont discussion with these guys, because I know you had kind of mentioned Mage Mormont with the Great Axes before, and how
exactly. Yeah, I can just double down on it. As I said, with the Umber Berserkers, this unit does quite the same, right? I mean, if you get them back with Here We Stand, and those guys hit back with the vicious, they deal out the weakened, right? You only defend on 6s. There are ways to and with her, you have the highest attack value and everything, right? So that could be a great option for her too. So that really makes this whole list will be a pain for your opponent. The only thing you have to draw into Here We Stand quickly, right? That's the thing, and you need to recycle it with Sansa if you can. So that's the core pillar of this list. But yeah, for both, it works really well with her. Yeah. All right, so the last one is, we will discuss at least, is the Stark Outriders. To make it really quick, Stark Outriders, and we discussed that in our Ravager video, which we did a few weeks back, was these guys need to find a certain role within the Starks. I think they had that in the past. It was just a cheap supporting unit, which was quite fast, which was able to, go around your opponent and finish someone off.
Or just harass. Yeah.
Or harass someone, exactly. And they were able to get out of there if they were hit. They just had the swift retreat, which basically made them, or gave them a little sustain on the battlefield. So I really liked them. And in short, I do not like the change on tactical repo. I really do not like it. I like tactical reposition in general. It's in general, it's a great ability, but I think it's not really needed, and it's not really good for this particular unit. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. Before they had a little bit of personality, you like kind of like I said, they were kind of a harassing unit. They could jump in and hit something, and then if you hit them back, they're just gone. And then that was kind of their personality, or a finisher. But now they're just going to get locked down and killed if you rush into combat. So you have to think, well, what is tactical reposition doing for them now? And I wonder, is it to help other cavalry units move forward? Like you have the Tully Cavaliers, and they're moving with the Tully Cavaliers at a little bit of a remove from them, and they're helping them jump up a little bit with tactical reposition and get into a better charging range to an opponent. It'll keep the enemy guessing a little bit, because there's a potential that Tully Cavalier unit that you didn't think was in range is now all of a sudden in range to charge you. Or are they going to move up on a flank with one of your infantry units and kind of push them along to get to that objective before the opponent? But both of those options, they're not doing what they did before. Unless in the Tully Cavalier scenario, they're helping the Tully Cav to jump into combat, and then they're swinging around to attack the flank. But I'm not sure what to make of them now. I think either of the options I said are okay, but then now you're dedicating a lot of points of your army to one little maneuver on the side of the battlefield. And these guys are less useful on their own. They used to be kind of a self-contained unit that you could just send around, and they could sit on an objective and then kind of snipe something in the flank, and then get out when they got hit, and potentially even get out back onto their objective. Like I've seen that before. They'll attack something that's coming at them, force that opponent to hit them, and then they just retreat back onto that objective. That's not a trick they can pull it quite as easily anymore, unless there's like an Aria token in play. So I'm not totally sure what to make of them. I think there's some options for things you can do with them, but they don't feel as good as they used to.
Yeah, exactly. And what it also took away from me, at least, was I did really like them with the Brinton Tully Cav commander, because he had elusive escape, and like having a free retreat, or when you get hit and you have a retreat, and you have like no pivot from your opponent, and he becomes weakened. That was quite cool, right? It was a cool thing to do, and it was also really synergizing with the deck that Brinton Tully Cav commander gave you. So that is totally taken away from my point of view. And as I said, they need to find their position or their role, especially now with the Ravages out, right? It's just 1 point more, right? And sitting on objective, you can do that with wolves, right? You don't need the Outriders anymore. Like as you said before, on 6 points, and they were self-sustained. That was okay, right? That was good. But so that's it on the Outriders. We did not mention the She-Bears, because that's just, from my point of view, it's just a cosmetic, or from our view, it's just a cosmetic, and it won't change how She-Bears are played out, right?
Just hit a little bit harder, but not too much to say. It's just kind of one of those small buffs that, you know, the devs just kind of like crank the knobs a little bit on the stats just to kind of see how it helps or harms things. So yeah, that was just a minor change. We'll see what that if it makes any difference.
Yeah. So way more important is are the two NCUs. I think we can discuss them right away together. So we have Roderick Castle. Roderick Castle, his whole martial expertise got changed. So, you know, he used or the first one is still there. So when he claims swords, he makes someone vulnerable. That stayed, but he got totally got rid of this reactivating an order. And now he basically he removes one of his order tokens, of his 2 order tokens, and you can re-roll attack dice. So I think that change is good for him as a 4-point NCU, and it brings him more to all the other NCUs in the Stark faction. And he's more, or way easier to use in way more lists, but also through this not reactivating orders anymore, there is also, again, another tech piece, which is taken away because there was this Bowman Overwatch thing. There was this scout openings thing from the Crenowin Bog Devils. There was the hidden traps from the trackers and stuff. So you were constantly or you were building lists around Roderick, or putting Roderick in certain lists, and this piece is taken away. And you know, I'm in between if I really like it or not. But I think for just from a perspective, what they are trying to do with the S4 update, which we mentioned before already, they tried to put the NCUs to closer together from a power level perspective, and they really did a great job with Roderick. Just looking from that point of view, they did a really good job, and he's not to be underestimated. He's quite good, and we all know that from Donald. I know it's a little different, but still, to having the rerolls on attacks at a certain right moment can be really, really, really big, as we all know. So great change on him.
Yeah, I agree. I think before your list had to really be crafted in a way that would take advantage of Roderick. And if you didn't build your list with orders you really wanted to recycle, then you're really just kind of wasting some of his value. I think now he's way more universally useful. And it's also kind of another example of, like, in this version of the game, in this season 4 update, you know, we saw a lot of precision getting taken out, and we saw a lot of rerolls getting put in. I think this is another case of more rerolls getting put in the game. And I think this is very kind of on theme for Starks. You know, it's really just amplifying their offensive output. And another one of these cases of, you think you've got a unit down on ranks and it's weak, but now someone throws Roderick on the sword, and now it's basically giving him like martial training. You know, it makes your opponent vulnerable. You get the rerolls, and you might have something else up your sleeve that gives you highest attack die value or something. So it's another one of these kind of Stark mechanics where, you know, you think you've got the Starks backed into a corner, and then all of a sudden they just lash out at you. So I think it's a cool change. I like that I think you're going to use both of those tokens every game. I think before, with Roderick, you really had to build your list to use those tokens effectively. But now I think no matter what, you're going to have opportunities to use both of those tokens in a game and get value out of it. So I think it's a good change.
Yeah, agree. So last one. I just say one sentence and then I give it to you. That was one of my most liked NCUs in the Stark faction before, on 5 points, having disrupt on a stick and the effect with the terrain. That was my way of spending not too much points and having something on the defensive side on the tactics board. So, and I really, really loved playing the old Howland Reed, and now he got changed, and I personally do not like it anymore. What do you think?
I agree. Howland used to be kind of the control commander, the control character in the Stark faction. Really was like, if you knew you're up against Howland, you knew you were going to be in for a very frustrating game. Like whether he was in an NCU or whether he was the commander you were facing. And I've had games with Howland Reed NCU just really annoying me, and it was oftentimes throwing them on a ranged unit, making their 3-up or 4-up go to a 5-up or a 4-up to a 5-up. And then, the rough and hindering thing was just kind of a bonus, from you. Pretty much you brought him to throw disrupt, like kind of a super disrupt out there, because it would stack with disrupt. So, like I had a battle report on my channel not too long ago where, my opponent was like really stacking the disrupt and counter-strike stuff in the list. And he was throwing Howland on units that I was also disrupted with. So it's just like, yeah, it was super frustrating. But now the new Howland, not only is it only a one-time use and then it goes away, but now it doesn't even go on ranged units. So it's only on a melee unit. So it's just so much more limited. And I think he lost way more than 1 point in value. He went down to 4 points, but I think that he was more than fair at 5 points the way he was. And I just don't see him really being taken nearly as much now at 4 points. I just don't think he's really in contention anymore unless you're really building a list around it somehow. But I think it was really bad for Howland fans, and there's some really diehard Howland fans around there, especially in my local scene. There's one player in particular who really loves his Howland Reed, so I know he's not happy right now.
Yeah. Like me, I always brought him, or like not always, but in a lot of lists had it, because I was always thinking, right, like in some lists you put the 6-point Eddard, the Warden Eddard in there to have the heal or the rerolls on the panic and the heal. And my way of doing it to be more defensive was Howland. Right, and I spared that point, or I saved that point to put it somewhere else. So, and that's gone. And in one sentence to close it, he was really fine at 5 points, I think. And he should be there in my book.
Yeah, right. I agree.
Yeah. So that's it on the changes. Randall, please, would you enlighten me? What is your take on the Stark faction overall? In the current meta after season 4, where are they in your point of view?
So I think they're in a good place. Starks have had, it seems like in season 3 they were kind of a one-trick pony. They were throw the Tully Cav in people's faces and make people just deal with it. Yeah. And maybe that's still a factor, because I know the Tully Cav didn't get knocked down at all, and there was no real change to that. But I think in season 4, the developers really gave Stark players more options. If you look at the change log for season 4, and it's predominantly changing their melee infantry units. Tactics cards didn't get changed for them. Just a couple NCUs got changed, but they really worked hard to make their melee units more just better. So I think the Stark faction is in a good place. I think they're very strong right now. They have way more options than they did before. I think before, Starks kind of were in that situation where they felt shoehorned into one particular list or a couple of different list types if they wanted to be competitive. But now I think they have a lot more options available to them. So I'm really happy to see the Starks in a good place. I've never been a Stark player. I've always been a Stark supporter. I still have a Stark starter box that I am not going to sell, because it's like one of those factions I just really want to get into, but they're just behind a couple of other factions. So I'm happy to see Starks, the changes to Starks, and I'm excited to see what players do with them.
Yeah, that's what I always see. Like, as a Night's Watch player, and you're known to be a Night's Watch player, like when you play Starks, you're always liked, even though you're putting everyone away, right? You just wipe the floor with each and every opponent, and the Stark player will still be this, oh yeah, he's a Stark player. Oh, that was such a great game. When you're, as a Night's Watch player, come across and you wipe the floor with them, you're always like that bad guy. Don't play him, right? He's playing whatever. He's playing Swarm Brothers and Ranger Hunters. He's playing the Stone Thrower. He's playing, whatever. So you're always the bad guy. So the Stark players are always good guys. At least that's how I perceive it. So Starks are always great. So the only thing I want to add to that, where are they as a faction, is what I really like about the Starks is that they're able to build great 7 activation lists, and they're able to build tremendously good 8-9 activation lists with the wolves, or not even with the wolves, now with the spearmen, right? With the spearmen too, and the spearmen also give them a little more sustain, which is great, right? And as we discussed, that unit with 5 points now is great. So you can build great activation lists, and it takes away a little bit of this Tully Cav meta. I heard that before. Say people or heard people saying there is that Tully Cav meta, which is true to a certain extent, and I think that will be that is taken away now with all these changes we talked about. It is taken away to a certain extent. I know Starks are now on top at stats. I think we have to see if they really stay there. I'm pretty sure they will drop a little, just due to their single-sided or pretty one-dimensional tactics deck. They pretty much lack the card draw, the deck manipulation. They lack that to be up there long term, I think. But as you said, I'm really happy for the changes. I am happy for the faction in general, and I really like to see them up there. And I'm totally fine to being down there now with the Night's Watch. Don't get me wrong. I'm totally fine with either. So So that's my take on the changes. They did a good job.
They're one of those like kill or be killed factions, and right now they seem to be killing it. So we'll see how the meta shakes out. But yeah, they're doing well.
True. All right, guys, that was it. As always, drop your comments down below if if we saw something. If you want to share what you're thinking on certain units or changes, just drop it down below. And until we see you, I guess that will be on Randall's channel again. That will be on Imperial Minis, and I guess it will be Greyjoy or Targaryens. We'll still figure it out, but one of the two. But it will be on Imperial Minis, so definitely check that out. And until we see you there, roll those crits.
See you later.
Come for the hits and stay for the crits.